1% inflation rate, that the cost of living increase for next year for Social Security beneficiaries would be 10.5%. If so, that would be a record high. What that means in practice is that the average check would go up by about $175 a month to a monthly amount of $1,668. But there are some wild cards to this.
So guys, economists are now warning lawmakers of a recession, which may lead everybody to rising poverty in many unemployment states. Now, the IRS has just released new details on the next batch of checks they're sending out, and right now, thousands of dollars can be claimed by many low-income households. But there's a deadline to receive the stimulus check, so be sure to continue watching this video because we get into more important information about the stimulus payments. Like this: if you receive a letter from the IRS, don't ignore it. According to CNBC, you could be one of 9 million people who the tax agency says can still claim thousands of dollars in stimulus and the child tax credit payments. You have to act quick. The IRS said it began mailing letters in October to reach millions of people who haven't claimed benefits like the stimulus checks, earned income tax credit, and the child tax credit. And according to the agency, people who are eligible only have until November 17th to claim the money. During the massive stimulus effort to help keep households afloat and financially afloat during the crisis, the IRS relied on tax returns, everybody, to determine eligibility as well as where to send the payments, as tax returns include bank account information or home address for mailing the checks. But about 9 million Americans have yet to claim the stimulus funds because they just didn't know and filed a 2021 tax return. The letters will let people know that they may be eligible and how to claim the money. The IRS said the 9 million people who were identified by the Treasurer's Office of Tax Analysis are those who are not required to file taxes because they have very low incomes. Single taxpayers under 65 years of old typically don't have to file a tax return if they earn less than $12,000 a year, so while that goes up to $14,000 for some people. The 2021 Recovery Rebate Credit is the official name of the third round of payments authorized by lawmakers, and is provided up to $1,400 per person, including qualifying children claimed on a tax return. Let's not forget that means a family of 4 could qualify for up to $5,600 in stimulus money. Under the law, the full amount is available to single taxpayers who earn less than $75,000 and married couples who earn less than $150,000. Payments are gradually phased out for people who earn above those thresholds. In this year's hot pace of job creation may have slowed slightly in October, but unemployment is expected to remain very low as companies continue to deal with worker shortages. According to Dow Jones, economists expect about 205,000 jobs, everybody, that were added in October, and forecasting unemployment rate stayed at 3.5%. That compares to job growth of 263,000 in September. Wage growth was expected to have cooled slightly, with average hour wages gaining 0.3% in the month, or 4.7% over a year ago, down from 5% annual pace in September. So for the Federal Reserve, let's talk about this. Economists say the type of job growth that's expected in October is not going to sway the central bank from its aggressive rate hiking path. Jerome Powell said Wednesday that the Fed could reduce the size of its interest rate hikes, but it may need to raise rates to an even higher than expected level just to stop inflation. Economists expect that rate hikes will eventually slow the economy enough to crimp the job market up. So one economist told CNBC that the Fed is now targeting the labor market and is willing to go even further on this. Recent data shows job openings surged in September despite the Fed's effort to cool the historically hot labor market. And this has helped the highest inflation increase since the mid-1980s. Early employment openings for the month totaled 10.7%, and also, if the October payrolls are much stronger than expected, the Fed may not slow its pace of hiking when it next meets on December 13 and 14. The slowdown in housing could actually start to show up slightly in October's jobs, but builders appear to be holding on to workers for now because of labor shortages. Weakness in housing could ripple into financial services if consumers spend less.
So who qualifies for this money? Well, first, you have to be a California resident who submitted their 2020 tax return by October 15th, 2021. Next, this only applies to joint filers or families who made less than $500,000 that year, or single filers with less than $250,000. Anyone who made more than that does not qualify. Here are 2 examples. Families who made
to help so many people across the state. So the governor, everybody, Janet Mills, approved the distribution of the checks in April, with the total cost of the stimulus payments estimated to be around $730 million. To qualify, applicants must have lived in the state for a full year, and must have filed their taxes in 2021 by October 31st in order to receive the money. Eligible applicants must make less than $100,000 annually if filing individually or $200,000 if filing jointly, as all according to the governor's office. However, dependents are not eligible for the payments, and residents of Virginia only have a matter of days to file the necessary paperwork in order to claim the missing stimulus money. So be sure to act now and be sure to act quick in order to receive your stimulus checks. I have a ton of information about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. There's a whole bunch of news that you have to know. After the U.S. economy came roaring back after one of the deepest but shortest recessions in history, the disruptions caused by the crisis and other world events has driven inflation to its highest level in over 40 years. And while the clip of rising prices slowed in the latest CPI index, households are still feeling the effects of inflation. The high cost of living has prompted states across the nation to approve sending tax refunds or stimulus checks as relief from high prices. I also want you to know this, everybody. If you're still waiting for a California stimulus check, you might not have to wait much longer. While direct deposit payments begin on October 7th, a second round of payments by debit card is also expected to go out this week. More direct deposits are scheduled to go out between October and next year as well. These one-time stimulus checks are known as the middle-class tax refunds. They range from $200 to $1,000, all depending on their filing status and also your income on your reported California return. So you qualify for a payment if you filed a 2020 income tax return by October, and also you cannot be claimed as dependent by anyone else on your previous tax returns. In the state of Illinois, everybody, for instance, taxpayers who earn less than $200,000 in 2021 will have a $50 check in their bank. Couples filing jointly can also get up to $100 and even $400 and $300 as well. For those with student debt, here's the latest news. The last few months have been definitely confusing. We all know that. President Biden said in August that he'd be forgiving up to $20,000 for millions of borrowers. But before that celebrating could even happen, Republicans brought a slew of changes to the policy, leaving it in jeopardy even as the application for the relief went live. So since October, about 22 million Americans have applied for forgiveness. Yet the biggest setback for the Biden administration is when the U.S. Appeals Court temporarily blocked it from moving forward. In September, the Republicans in the General Assembly all agreed that they tried to sue the Biden administration to stop its plans to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt. The U.S. District Judge has also ruled early this month that while the states had raised important and significant challenges to the debt relief plan, they ultimately lacked legal standing to pursue the case. The 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals also granted the state's emergency petition, leaving the Biden administration unable to forgive any student debt for now. The GOP-led states are accusing the president of overstepping his authority. The Education Department, in order to protect its broader loan forgiveness policy, has now said that borrowers need to have consolidated their loans by the end of September to be eligible. They no longer can do so to qualify. According to CBS News, an 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals did on Friday, and they froze the president's plan until it decides whether or not to keep the plan on hold for the duration of the state's appeals. Now, the White House press secretary also said in an official statement that tonight's temporary order does not prevent borrowers from applying student debt relief. It also does not prevent